Good morning. My name is LaTonya Clark, and I would like to introduce both of our guests today. We have Brittany here on my left, and I have Dylan here on my right. Today, we're going to be talking about the controversy and the legalization of marijuana. So, we also going to talk in depth about the ingredients, the benefits, and some of the bad things that they say about it. So, I like to start out with just a general question on the legalization process. We also know that marijuana is actually derived from a flower. But why is it that so many people are saying that it's bad? So many people say that it's good, it's used for medicinal. What is your thought on it, Brittany? I'd like to start with you.
That weed is definitely medicinal. It totally, I don't know, the different types of weed you smoke do different things for different. If you want to go to sleep and you smoke yourself some sativas and you want to go pass out, you put some indicas if you want to be up. I think I got that backwards, but you know.
So there are specific kinds of marijuana according to what you just said. I know they have sativa. Then they'll also have a indica and then a hybrid, which is derived of both of the ingredients. But the hydrocannabinol is known as THC, but it's also known as CBD and usually used as an active medicine in patients, especially with cancer. And then there's AIDS patients. But what about muscle spasms, chronic pain, nausea, glaucoma, and MS? Some people use it for anxiety, some people use it for depression. But recent studies also shows that marijuana helps with the rehabilitation of street drugs, crack cocaine. What is your thoughts on the medicinal purpose, Dylan?
The medicinal purpose for me, I use it because I'm a pitcher. I recently tore my rotator cuff in labrum, and so I'd rather smoke weed than pop pills of ibuprofen and Vicodin for the rest of my life. So.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people, because even when you do take prescription drugs, everything has a side effect. So if you take too much of Vicodin, stomach ulcers, things of that nature. But I know some people that experience anxiety or panic attack as a result of the marijuana. So what would you say, Brittany? Can you give us some advice on that? Have you ever experienced it?
Yes, but I mean, that's just kind of you got to calm yourself down and tell yourself it's going to be okay. Because really, if you're tripping out of smoking weed, you probably shouldn't be smoking weed because it's a constant thing. I mean, it could be situational. I was in a hot box and there was child lock on the door and I couldn't open the door to get air in the hot box, and I was panicking, but that wasn't because of the weed, it was because of me. You know, some people aren't comfortable in their situation and that's why they get paranoid or they think someone's going to find out. But I mean, if you're just cool and not being dumb when you smoke it, you shouldn't get paranoid. There's no reason. It should be legal.
I also like to just say, though, that everybody is different. Just like certain medications work different in different people's body, marijuana may work different in other people's body. Before they smoke, just please do the research, because certain ones work for anxiety, certain ones work for pain. So you need to be well versed and documented in the benefits of what marijuana does. And instead of just buying something on the streets, you might want to try the Cannabis Club, where that you can get some advice on what to take, what works for what. But I also like to say that it has been labeled as a psychoactive drug, but yet it's still used as medicine. So I know in glaucoma patients, it lowers the eye pressure in glaucoma. So I'd like to just ask Dylan again, have you experienced any bad reaction to marijuana?
Yeah, I actually have. When one time I actually was recent, I was hotboxing, same as you, Brittany, and I had the child lock on the thing and I couldn't get out. I was actually paranoid. Cars were showing up and yeah, I got paranoid. But that's about it.
Well, I can say that.
But that wasn't from the weed.
I know it wasn't.
That was because of your situation.
Yeah.
You can't put it on the weed.
You would say it was situational instead of versus the effect of the marijuana.
Yeah.
Even though it's derived from a plant. they use marijuana in several different cleaning supplies. They use hemp in a lot of different things, to make things here in the United States, all over the states. But still, they are having these problems with getting it approved. So that was one of our big questions: is why is it still yet not approved? And people from all over the states actually came here to San Francisco this weekend in support of National Marijuana Day. So we're going to take a break, but we will be back in just a moment.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Obama's drone.
Drones are unmanned aerial vehicles, aircrafts either controlled by pilots on the ground or increasingly autonomously following a pre-programmed mission. There are dozens of different types of drones, but they fall into two basic categories: those used for surveillance and those armed with missiles and bombs. Since Obama was elected in 2008, the CIA has reportedly overseen 320 drone strikes in Pakistan alone, killing more than 3,000 people, as many as 900 of them civilians, and at least 180 of them children. Assassination has never been this easy and risk-free. But how do you feel about these unmanned planes flying over you and your family? Well, the Federal Aviation Administration claims that the U.S. alone has over 50 companies, universities, and government agencies building drones, and predict by 2020 there will be over 10,000 drones in U.S. skies. Thank you, Mr. Nobel Peace Prize winner. This PSA was brought to you by KCTH 27 Chabot College. In 2006, the global spending on prescriptions was $643 billion. The United States accounts for almost half of the global market with nearly $300 billion annual sales.
Well, I think it's very idiotic because we're spending a lot of the taxpayers' money, like millions and trillions and billions of dollars for all this medication. And it's like we have all these sicknesses going on and we're paying for this medicine, and then you got all these symptoms that come along with it, like mouth seizures, you might have a heart attack, you might have abrasions, or just weird stuff that happened to you that shouldn't. And then when you got natural stuff that can be curing you, and then the symptoms are worse than the medicine that they're giving to us. It's like, are you curing us, or really giving us the illness? It's real crazy, and it's awkward, and it's killing us off. It's really killing everybody. And it's all these narcos and antimycin and all these antibiotics. It's death waiting to happen, and we're spending all our money just to basically kill ourselves, and it's all for a profit.
Studies show that you're 6,200% more likely to be killed by your doctor or physician than a homicidal shooting. Pharmaceutical companies have been criticized for spending 19 times more on self-promotion than basic research on FDA-approved drugs. Where pharmaceuticals have been shown to cause side effects, civil action has occurred. The top 20 pharmaceutical cases account for over $16 billion in recovery. Every day, nearly 300 people are killed by FDA-approved prescription drugs. Nothing like getting addicted to some medicine that will break the bank and your life.
Okay, we're back with my two guests, Brittany and Dylan. I'm LaTonya. Also, there's just a couple of questions that I would like to ask before we end our discussion on this. I know a lot of people are opposed to marijuana. Some people are for marijuana. But what would you say, reason why they label it as a psychoactive drug? Can you give me your thoughts on that?
I think the person that labeled it a psychoactive drug was one of those people that shouldn't have been smoking weed, personally. Because, I've never smoked weed and, tripped out, or, because it's not like that. It's, totally different than, taking acid or doing shrooms. It's totally different than shrooms. So it's and those are hallucinogens, but they don't make you feel the same. It's more like a painkiller, I'd say. So.
But what would you say, though, with the smoke effect, though? Because, even people that smoke cigarettes, if you smoke, it's still going into your lungs, and then it has things that are proven to cause cancer. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? Let me just ask you, Dylan, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know they have THC pills, they have creams that you can use. Isn't there alternatives than smoking if you're really actually in pain?
When I went to go get my card, my doctor actually told me, she asked me, what do you smoke out of when you smoke? I say usually joints, or bongs. And then she's like, okay, well, stay away from the blunts because that's bad for your lungs with the tobacco. And she's like, but if you're an athlete, I'd smoke out of a vaporizer, if anything. So the vaporizer is the way to go on smoking.
And what about you, Brittany?
I don't agree with smoking blunts, especially people that are like so advocate about like how awesome marijuana is, and you smoke it out of a blunt, it kind of just like defeats the purpose. I prefer smoking out of a pipe because like I smoke alone and I roll pregnant joints and they don't hit very well. So vaporizing is the best way to go, but it kind of depends all on what you're using it for. If you're like in a lot of pain, I'd suggest eating edibles because you probably won't do very much and you'll lay down and go to sleep if you're in pain.
Yeah.
I mean,
And my last thought on that, I know we can definitely, if you have a car, you can smoke freely. You can use certain amounts. You could carry a certain amount, but there is studies that is proven that it is 10 times worse than one cigarette in a one blunt joint. So that is proven. I mean, you can do the research on marijuana.com, but also, I mean, I personally do not recommend anybody, like, if you're smoking it, I mean, you better do your research before you do it. But also, I like to say is that there are other alternatives. There's creams, you could take pills, you could do the edibles, like she said, if you're actually really in pain. And I want to thank my guests for coming today, but there are 14.8 million Americans that are using marijuana for medicinal purposes nationwide. And thank you, Brittany, for joining us today, and thank you, Dylan, for joining us today. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. KCTH TV 27. I am LaTonya Clark, your host today, and thanks for tuning in.